Hey guys, Omni here. Just got finished watching Cruella, and this is Disney's latest attempt at reinventing one of their classic animated villains. We've seen this with Maleficent. This is really, I think, the second time that it's been done as far as I'm currently aware. I count these movies separate from their other live action films, which are just them kind of recreating their classic animated tales, while this and Maleficent try to do something different by putting a different spin on it, by focusing on different characters at different points. Like with Maleficent, where I feel like a lot of that, for me, they took a lot of the elements that I did enjoy about the character and really didn't hone in on them. And they put this spin on it to where the story, they do this thing where it's like, oh, that's the story you heard, but that's not the truth. In this one, they don't do that, at least. They build this up, and we follow Emma Stone, who plays young Estella, who is a struggling orphan in London, trying to make it by on the streets, who has these dreams of being aspiring to become a fashion designer. While on the streets, she's joined by Jasper and Horace, who are played by Joel Fry and Paul Walter Hauser, which some of you on the channel might remember from season 2 of Cobra Kai. He was Stingray. We also have Mark Strong in here, John McCrea, Kirby Howell-Baptiste, and Kayvan Novak. Though I won't spoil who they play because I think it's kind of interesting to see the reveals as this kind of comes through the story. This, again, like I said, is the backstory of this character, and they do a really good job endearing you to the struggle of Estella as she grows up in this world, and we see her transformation into the fashionista Cruella de Vil. And I gotta say, the transformation is a lot of fun. This movie is directed by Craig Gillespie, and this film has a lot of energy, a lot of beautiful, cinematography, a lot of great sequences. There's a lot of, I would say this is like a blend between Devil Wears Prada and Ocean's 11. We have this focus obviously on the, fashion side of this, her digging her way out of the streets and into high fashion, and how she gets from A to B. The movie itself takes place during 1970s London, during the peak of the punk rock revolution, and the soundtrack really pulls a lot of the weight in the film by pulling a lot of classic songs from the era, which I hope drives the energy of the film as well. That helps, and personally, in my opinion, complement the energy that Craig Gillespie is putting into the direction and pacing of the film. The writing, I also think, is really well handled, though I do think that the actors themselves are elevating a lot of this material. I think Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, who plays Baroness von Hellman, who is the antagonist, if you will, of this, where we have, who should be the villain of the story. We should be learning to love to hate this character, kind of like what they did with Maleficent, though. What I feel like one of the shortcomings of this film, though I think the performance of Emma Stone is phenomenal and just executed amazingly, where I think that the film trips for me is that they don't commit to her becoming Cruella, and not the Cruella that we know. They make her out to be more of an anti-hero, somebody you want to root for by the end of this. And while it's satisfying in the moment, when you're thinking about where this eventually goes, you're just like, wait a minute. Isn't this the person that's going to go out and slaughter hundreds of puppies? It just mixes its tones. I know that Disney doesn't want to tell a tale that has like this bleak ending. They don't want you rooting for a monster. They want you to rooting for a human. The way this movie ends, it just feels like I don't see the progression from that person in this film to the person in the animated film. So if they do make another one, which they do sequel bait this at the end with a post-credit scene, that I don't know what they would do for that sequel, because you can't really make 101 Dalmatians in the way that it happened. You would have to do something else or have something happen in between that completely transforms this character. I'm trying to at least get my thoughts out without spoiling the plot points of the film, but I feel like they just do that thing like they did with Maleficent, where a lot of us just love to hate these villains, or we just love the evil of it all, and they don't want to commit to any of that. That aside, I feel like it's a really fun movie. It's, again, gorgeous. The soundtrack's awesome. All the performances in this, I think, are really amazing. I think this movie does a lot of great things. There's a lot of these plot elements that are in here that just kind of muddy the story a little bit. There are some twists and turns in here that I feel like we probably could have just omitted and just followed this rising fashionista versing the one who is currently ruling over the kingdom, you know, just having that be the focus. But there's some things in between that for me just felt like it overcomplicated the situation. And the movie does feel its length. It's like over 2 hours. I don't know the exact runtime just off the top of my head, but it does feel like it drags at some points. And I feel like you could definitely trim some of that fat, and maybe that could be done by removing some of that unnecessary plot elements that's in here. And I really wish they would have just, at some point, have the cojones to commit to making these stories about a villain in the end of the day, not an anti-hero, not a misunderstood person, because that just doesn't mesh with where the story, we all know, if you've seen the stuff before, you know where the story ends up, it just doesn't line up. This is one of those cases where I feel like you could have made this movie and done a really fantastic job creating a new IP. And this movie does get dark. Like, don't get me wrong, just because she doesn't go full on evil or full on villain, there are some dark moments in this film. All that still being said, I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was fun. It was energetic. And I thought all the performances in this were great. I had some laughs. There were some thrills in here for sure. It's just when you come down to it, this being a reimagining of an iconic villain character who does some of the most irredeemable things you can do in media, they make you try to like this character and sympathize in that way. And it just makes it hard to transition as a viewer from that to where she ends up. And plus the post-credit scene and the scene that at the end of the movie that kind of leads into it is weird. If you pay attention to it and think about it and know where the story goes, it makes things really, really weird. But I won't spoil that for you. I'll let you guys figure that one out for yourselves. I'd give this a solid B for me. That being said, let me know your thoughts. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Huge shout out to our legends of the channel, Mandy Sherritt, Antoine Rodriguez, Ryan Karen, and Jason Coleman. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody who's been joining the Patreon, everybody who's been joining the Discord server, everybody who's been following me on all the socials. Links to all of this stuff is down in the description of the video as always. Thank you guys so much for your support every video. I love you guys, and I will catch you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.